Welcome. We are so back. Welcome to another edition, first on the new channel of Props to Consider and then maybe Bet. I am your host, formerly the Paragon of Virtue. Now I am just the Shepherd. I am Lou Betya. Welcome to the channel. If you are watching this, thank you for taking your time out. Please like the video. Please subscribe to our new channel. Monk Maddox and I building something new, something mix of sports and comedy and fun. But bringing back the prop show, who better than the guy who will drill 35 units of profit, just nailing props, round two subs, split decisions. My guy, VB MMA Picks. VB does not stand for Visual Basic. It might stand for Vinnie Betya. I don't know, man. Man of mystery. VB, we did a show Monday on your channel.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the card? Couple of days now, sitting in here, and welcome to be the first guest on the new channel, man.
Hey, it's an honor, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really happy you invited me, especially as a first guest. So I hope you guys do well. I hope you guys have more subscribers than me. I don't have that many, so I hope you get some.
I found that threats work well.
Yeah, and I think this card is very good. Like I personally like money lines more than some props, but I think we have some decent props to play with also. But for me, this is like a money line card more than prop card. But there are some sneaky props too. So let's look into them.
This is one of these cards where I looked at it initially and I just wrote like pass, 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 pass on like every fight, like just pre-tape. And then the more and more I looked at it, these cards historically for me, where there's no big favorites. Like I think Maverick's the biggest favorite right now. I could be wrong, but I think Ryan Maverick's the biggest favorite. Historically, these cards are the ones I do the best on. And I think it's because I am not like a parlay guy where I just take like the three biggest juiced plays and group them. I like just the straight bets. And I know you have that style. I think you and I have like similar styles in that regard. And this is the kind of card where any fight you like, it's not so juiced where you can't justify a straight play on it. So I like this card. I'm growing more and more into it as the week's gone on. I know you are too. But we're going to start off the show. And in a rare circumstance, I am going to go first because my guy VB is going to give two props on the main event, not one. So I am going to start off with my lowest prop. And I'm going to give out, I'm waiting for FanDuel to drop this number just so you guys know. But currently on Bet Online, I'm going to go with Bruno Silva's submission at plus 400. I debated playing the KO here because of leg kicks. But the more and more I thought about it, Cody Durden, who I think if this goes the distance, probably a lot of groundwork, a lot of takedowns, a lot of mat returns, maybe tire Silva out. I'm waiting for the round one, round two sub. FanDuel, I'm sure, will put up a stupid number. It's currently, the submission itself is 400 on Bet Online. I think Bruno Silva is going to have an advantage, nailing a lot of calf kicks here. And VB's gone. So apparently this is props to consider with you, boy, Lou. Well, however, you're here. I'm going to break down the fight. There he is. He's back. You here, brother?
Hello.
Okay. There he is. I got you. I hear you.
Yeah, I was listening to it. Just restarted. My bad.
I assumed my Bruno Silva pick just broke your internet. So I will continue.
Yep.
So I think Silva can hurt Durden with a lot of like low calf kicks. Our guy Dogfather and I were talking about this on Monday on a show on this channel, by the way, Fight Factor. Go check it out. But we really haven't seen Durden fight guys that kick him a lot. The last guy he fought was Gutierrez. I guess that was almost 4 years ago. But Silva doesn't kick, like Charles Johnson kicks, but he doesn't kick with like malicious intent like Silva does. So I think Silva can hurt him. Every time I've ever seen Durden hurt, he panic shoots. He just wants no part of being on the feet. I think he can get caught in a club and sub. I think he can get caught in a choke just going in for a takedown when he's not liking how it's going on the feet. Durden's never been KO'd, but he has been submitted a bunch of times, including the memeiest sub ever by Jimmy Flick. I don't love plus 400 as a price, but I want to look at the round one, round two, and FanDuel drops it. Historically, their submission odds would be higher anyway. But I feel like if Silva's going to get a sub, it's not coming round 3. Durden's cardio's decent enough. It's good enough where if this thing hits the 3rd round, I don't think Bruno Silva's subbing him. So I'm going to go round 1, round 2 sub on Bruno Silva. On FanDuel, I'm going to guess it's going to be 650, knowing FanDuel. And I think that's not a horrible price for a couple of ways I could see it happening. So even the under itself is sneaky, but I really think that Bruno Silva has a lot of the finishing equity here. Do you think so? You think Durden has any finishing equity here in this fight, or?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Durden maybe can get a finish late if still Agassis. We have seen still Agassis a couple times. Like, first loss he had in the UFC, which got overturned, that was a bad look, you know? He got subbed by a striker. So I'm not surprised if he gets subbed, to be honest, but I like doesn't go to decision also, like it's plus 180. I think it's pretty decent, you know? Of course, like, Bruno finishes more likely, not even close, but I think Durden can get a finish too, but it's more likely Durden decision. So I played both sides, you know, and I have Durden and doesn't go. So I hope at least I break even, you know.
Yeah, I think Durden, if this thing goes distance, it's going to be Durden, but Durden does have some finishing equity. But all right, VB, what's your first prop to consider and then maybe bet on this lovely UFC Vegas 94 card that's somehow not in South Korea?
Yeah, there are a lot of good fighters from that region in this card, which is interesting. You know, I didn't know there were so many in the beginning, but then I taped it and there's 3 or 4 of them. So they're really good fighters too. Like most of them are really good fighters on the card. So my first prop is like in a Gallagher and Cody Gibson fight. You know, I faded Gallagher last fight. I just didn't like his time off coming back from an injury, and he got knocked out pretty badly by Cody Garbrandt. You know, and I just think he's not into fighting anymore. I think this is the last fight he's gonna have in the UFC. He's on a couple fight losing streak, and Cody Gibson kind of needs a win, right? He has 2 losses. Last fight he looked decent, but still lost to Miles Johnson. I think he can get a knockout here. I really do. I think it's plus 400 right now, and um, I think it's a decent look for a guy in Keller who's been knocked out last 2 losses, right? So like, he's getting finished, he's getting stopped, he's getting knocked out. In general, Cody ITD, I was gonna play, but it wasn't a good line, so I went with KO. So I don't hope I hope he doesn't stop him or something, but I really like KO here in this fight. I think Kelleher's chin is gone, and he's been getting dropped and dropped and dropped, and finally he got knocked out in his last fight. It's been coming, it was due for. So I think same thing is gonna happen. I think I see like a knee knockout or something in the clinch, and I'm not surprised if Kelleher gasses himself trying to wrestle either, and it's like massive elbows in the clinch and gets hurt with an elbow or cut up with elbows. So I think that's like, if you look at Cody's fights, he jabs people a lot, and he throws a lot of elbows, so they can open a lot of cuts. So there could be some kind of doctor stoppage because Kelleher has a lot of facial damage in his
He's got
fights.
a
You know
lot of
what I mean?
sparring.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's why I went with TKO plus 400. I don't know if it's still there, but FanDuel probably is going to offer 550 or something on this one. So,
I like that too, especially because you got Gibson coming off like the Miles Johns fight where he never even got a chance to get off his offense. So I think he's going to have a little more urgency now. Not that I think Kelleher is going to be grapple heavy, but there's going to be a sense of urgency. Like he didn't get to do it. Like you're so disappointed when like you just get grounded for 15 minutes and never really get to do anything. So
yeah.
I like your look on that for the KO. I do. All right. Let's see which. God, I can't believe I'm going to say this next one, man. I can't believe I'm going to say this one because everybody that watches me knows I'm an Algio guy. Like I really am. But the Choi round 1 KO, 8-1. I have to take a look at it. Now, look, I don't really think I probably don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight if it doesn't come super early. If this thing gets out of the first, Algio is going to do what he always does. He's going to throw a lot of punches and kicks that don't land, but putting people on the back foot, mixing some grappling, uses cardio as a weapon. But Algio, and it's not just the Kyle Nelson fight, VB, it's every fight he has. He's so bad in the first round. He's there to be hit. even Herbert Burns, like, who gassed out in like 3 minutes, like, not say Herbert Burns is like bad when he's fresh, but I mean, everybody's had success against him when they're fresh. He keeps his hands low. He gets into these like herky jerky striking exchanges where he's daring people to come at him. I know people complain about the stoppage. I had Algeo as a bet against Kyle Nelson. I'm done betting. By the way, I don't know are you done betting against Kyle Nelson? I'm done fading Kyle Nelson. I'm done with this guy, man.
I mean, I bet Kyle Nelson in that fight, so I was pretty happy.
I mean, like, look, I don't hate Kyle Nelson. I feel like he's doing the most with like he's not horrible. He's okay. And he's making the most. Like, Trey Ogden is like okay, and he's making the most of his skill set.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Kyle Nelson just making the most of his skill set.
Yeah. I'm not high on the guy or anything. I just thought the line was kind of generous.
No, but he's kind of like but maybe Kyle Nelson's like, all right. Yeah. He's like a solid journeyman and not like a total scrub. But even in that fight that people thought it was a bad stoppage, I didn't think it was a bad stoppage because, and this is similar to the Cannonier Imamov stoppage we saw, where if you're getting hit 8 to 10 to 12 times unanswered and all your hands are down for every single one of them, just because it's not over like 5 to 6 seconds doesn't mean it's not getting dangerous. I mean, every time Algeo got hit was bad. I mean, he was getting cracked and he's backstepping and he's stanky legged. And I mean, the KO would have come. But this is not unique to the Kyle Nelson fight. Algeo gets tagged a lot in round ones. And it was only a matter of time before the durability finally went. And, there's a lot I don't love with the Choi side, the inactivity. I don't think he throws tons of high volume early in fights historically. But his camp's got to be looking at what Algeo just came off of and say, all right, like if you're going to get him, you got to get him early. So 8-1 odds for Choi to knock him out early. I think it's worth a shot just with how Algeo historically fights in round one too. So I don't know how much you like that. And honestly, I do think this is probably like Algeo decision more likely than not. But I think Choi has all the finishing equity here.
Yeah, I agree with the Choi finishing equity. Algeo is not a finisher. Only guys who finishes are who are, death guys or something. So, yeah,
it's funny too because Algeo is at a camp, like close to my house. Like Algeo and the guy that Algeo. What's that?
Yeah. You gotta check him out. See, drive there, see what he's doing.
Well, listen to this. So the guy, I've said this on our show. So the guy that Algeo opened gyms with, that was his original crew. Like that taught him. I graduated high school with him.
All right.
This guy Eric Carner is and he's in his corner every fight. And I know Eric Carner is like Lou doesn't fear many people in life. I would never screw with this guy ever.
Right.
Like, and he's my size. I want no part of this guy. And I know the kind of people they have in that gym. These are badass dudes that do not strike me as like decisionators. So it's really strange to see Algeo like his results, even on the regionals. And it's like, all right, like I'm surprised he's not more proactive round one, just kind of knowing who he associates himself with. But
you know what I think like Algeo's problem is, like when he was younger, I think he was like better defensively. You know what I mean? Like when you're younger, you see shots better coming at you, and he was kind of rolling with shots when he was getting hit. Now he's older and he can't see those shots coming as well, and he's getting cracked now. He can't roll with your punches anymore. That's why Kyle Nelson kind of nailed him. I mean, he's 35 now. Like your reflex is not the same. So he's still fighting like he's 25 years old or something, like slick striker. You can't see these punches coming anymore. So if Choi like actually goes for the finish, I think he can get a finish. But Choi is like inconsistent fighter. You never know what you're gonna get with him. So it's a risky prop, but I definitely see a path.
So who's not 35? Who's 37? Is Chris Curtis. Is Chris Curtis 37? And VB, he blocked me on Twitter because he won't fight me.
All right.
Now, you're an expert handicapper, so I'm just going to assume that you blindly agree with the fact that in a bar brawl, your boy Lou is minus 150 over Chris Curtis. So we're going to move on after that. Yep. I'm going to take your silence as you agreeing with the line, and we're going to move on.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Big C. Dude, we're making history on the first show of this channel.
Yeah.
All right, VB, what's your next prop before we get to the main event on your side?
Yeah, so Steve Garcia and Sang Choi. That's the one I like. And here's the thing with Garcia: like every single fight this guy has is like some kind of weird meme outcome, and everybody's like betting this freaking doesn't go to decision, and they're piling this stuff, and I think it hits. But if it like for you, if it goes to a decision, who do you favor? I personally favor Garcia. You know, that's what I'm going with this. Like you probably realize now. I think Garcia decision is not the worst bet. Like he's gonna go for a finish. He's gonna go forward. Choi is not like super terrible defensively. He's okay. He kind of did okay against Zalal in a striking fight. Kickboxing fight. So I mean, if somebody's going, forward and the other guy is going back, that's gonna probably win him a round in a close round. So Garcia is gonna be putting a pressure here. If he doesn't knock Choi out, he's gonna win a decision. On the other hand, Choi can count on him and slip him too. So it's a weird fight in a way. Like if you look at Ronnie fighting Bellator for Garcia, like that's the kind of fight this may be actually. So yeah, I mean these guys' fights are just memes. Like way he loses, how he wins, who is decisioning Ronnie Lawrence. Like nobody's doing that, and this guy did somehow. Even though his cardio is not usually good. So like. Give me Garcia by decision here. It's probably random outcome plus like I think it's 600 right now or something.
There's a couple of 750s hanging out there for it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's bad. Choi's cardio is not like horrible, but in this kind of fight, I kind of like Garcia to win decision more than Choi.
And would you? I mean, if anybody has grappling equity here, it's Garcia's not a terrible offensive wrestler.
No, he actually did pretty good against Ontiveros. He took him down, mounted him. There's a takedown upside. Let's say Garcia is getting cracked. He probably is going to crack Choi back and take him down, and he can win a round. So,
what if and if Garcia is up 2-0? Why not go for a takedown in the third round and just be like, all right.
Again, this guy just produces memes. So you gotta go.
He's not wired. He's not wired to really do that, but
yeah, he's probably gonna go crazy round 3 for a finish or something gets dropped, and then I have to like scream, "Don't get finished," something. But like, yeah,
I think at plus 750, that's crazy. That's a crazy, interesting look.
Yeah.
Who was I talking about this with today? It's not this fight. God, I forget who I was talking about with on Twitter about this, but we were talking about the Jake Paul, Mike Perry. Oh, it was Monk. And I said, he's like, what's Mike Perry's decision? And I'm like, you're crazy. And he's like, well, what is it? And I'm like, 14-1. VB, the draw is 11-1. The Perry decision is 14-1. Like, it's such a weird, such a stupid number. I mean, do you have a thought on that fight at all?
I mean,
I know it's not part of the show, but like, do you have a thought about that at all?
Here's the thing with Mike Perry. I think Mike Perry is like very tough, like like tough freaking striker. He's not very fast or anything, but he can hit hard. And I was talking about him beating MVP back in the day. Everybody was like making fun of me. He beat MVP. He was plus 350. You know why? Because he puts pressure. So like, if he decision MVP, I'm not surprised if he can decision Jake Paul. I mean, I think guy's underrated, to be honest. As far as like boxer goes. So
he's not going to give Jake Paul the fight he wants. It's going to be in his face. I mean,
I mean, honestly, man, like, what is the money line? Like,
I don't think Jake Paul's like minus 450. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Jake, that's easily the best guy he's fought. In my opinion, from MMA. Anderson Silva, of course, is better, but now he's 50 years old, so like, doesn't matter. So I like it. I think it's more like a late finish or something. If he wins, actually, Jake Paul is probably gonna break or something. But Jake Paul is also like roided, so he's not gonna be easy to finish him. So yeah, I'm gonna sprinkle that. Yeah.
I hate that I'm gonna. Well, it's a rigged sport. I mean, you have to. Like, it's.
I guess. Yeah.
Look, I was ready. I was gonna load up the Tyson Paul draw, and everybody's like, no. And everybody I talked to at the bar, oh, Tyson's gonna knock him out in the first two. I'm like, no, he's not. And I said, and trust me, he's front loaded. But if Jake Paul wins 7 rounds, it's still gonna be a draw. so they can go get another bag in December. Because that's what this sport is, man. You know how,
Okay, yeah.
VB, you know how angry I was, how much money I should have won on Triple G beating Canelo in the first fight?
Yeah, no.
I've watched it 5 times. He won 9-3 at worst. He won that fight, man. It's terrible.
That's
Anyway,
why I don't bet boxing, my friend.
no,
Yeah.
didn't you have a bet on? You had an Ngannou decision, didn't you?
I had Ngannou money line. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that was the bet, man. That was a
Yeah.
winner. It's ridiculous. All right, let me get to my last prop real quick so I can get you to the main event for both your props. I've kind of gone back and forth money line wise on the Radzhabov Ogden fight because I do think that Ogden's skill of making shit boring is like I'm impressed. But I think this number is stupid, and that's the Radzhabov sub. It's 10-1. I know Ogden's never been knocked out, and I know that Radzhabov like can throw some heat. But what kind of fight are we going to get here? I mean, if Ogden's this genius, if he's this fight IQ master that we think he is, he's not going to want to really stay at distance. And when Ogden is at distance, what does he really do? He throws like some teep kicks. He doesn't. It's more like he just throws kicks to stay at distance so he can go for a takedown. And I don't think Loic's going to let him stay at that distance. I can see him hurting Ogden. But whether or not Ogden's hurt, Ogden should be going for takedowns here. Halaba is just there to be taken down. Radzhabov's younger. He's stronger. I don't love his game on the bottom, but I do think he's a way better athlete than Ogden. I don't think that's a super hot take. And I do think that maybe he can get a reversal. I think he'd get a club and sub here hurting Ogden and Ogden panic shooting. I think at 10-1 and Radzhabov has a couple of subs in his arsenal, like, and not like 10 years ago either. Like the guy has kind of a decent jiu-jitsu. I feel like if this fight's on the ground for a substantial point of time, and I think it will be, I think Ogden will force it. Then give me the guy who I think has good skills and probably is the more dynamic finisher at 10-1. I don't love it, but I think the price is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if Thomas Gifford did it twice, you know, you know what I mean. If Thomas Gifford subbed Ogden twice, why can't Loic sub him?
I mean, Ogden's run in the UFC is so weird. Like I'm not even talking about the Levitt fight. Like the Bahamundis fight, I think played the way it should have, and he wanted no. Bahamundis is very good on the ground too, on top, but he didn't want any part of that. And then these other fights he's had, like Nicholas Mata, stinks. Like he's not really a UFC guy to me. And then the Halaba fight, I mean, Halaba just anytime Ogden went for a takedown, and there was no effort. It just instantly he got thrown on the ground, and Radzhabov is going to give him a lot more resistance than that. So again, this is a price play to me. 10-1 is kind of a crazy number, but I'm going to give my VB. He's got 2 props on the main event, not just one. So I'm going to let him take over and give you both views he has in the main event before I give mine.
Yeah, I will give the long shot prop first, and then we're going to talk about the main event. All right. So I break this down. I mean, I already broke this down, you know, like many times this fight, like on my channel, on, you know, my, you know, write up and everything. So I think like Lemos is the side in general, but if Rina has to win this fight, I think it's by sub. And way this fight plays in my head is like, let's say Rina gets a takedown early, she's probably gonna have a advantage as the fight goes on. Like if somebody has a huge moment early in the fight, I think that's gonna be the winner, even if they don't get a finish. See what I mean? So if Rina, let's say, gets a takedown or 2 early, and she can control Lemos, and Lemos is getting tired, I'm not surprised as the fight goes on if Rina is now dominating and getting takedowns easier, you know, and kind of Lemos is wilting, you know what I mean? So if I was gonna play Rina, I think 3-4 sub is the way to go, you know, like it's plus 1600 for 3 and 2200 for round 4 sub. So I sprinkle those small because if Virna gets some kind of controlling this fight, it's gonna take some rounds to get a sub, and I think it's gonna come in 3 or 4. On the other hand, let's say she's getting rocked, she's losing the fight, and Lemos makes a mistake, because Lemos makes a lot of mistakes still. Against Angela Hill, she had a fight won, and somehow she didn't, end up finishing it and almost lost the decision. So if Lemos keeps Virna in the fight for no reason, even if she's up three rounds, let's say, she can get like comeback subbed or something also in 3-4. So there's 2 ways this fight can end by sub for Virna. You know what I mean? So I sprinkled the 3-4 sub. I mean, plus 1600, 2200, not that like the best lines, but it's not like 50-1 or anything. But Virna is a good grappler, and there's few paths that can get there. That's the one I like as far as like long shot prop goes.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up the Angela Hill fight. You didn't bring up the Dern fight, which is another one where she had one-way traffic on the feet and she just couldn't stop a good entry. And Dern is not some. I mean, I don't think Virna is the greatest offensive wrestler. I like her top game is good. I don't think Virna is the greatest at entries, but she's better than Dern. And Dern just like would bum rush her and get her down. So I think Virna can have success here, and she's historically durable. I mean, Verna's not getting KO'd, and I don't think Lemos is subbing her. So I like the 3-4-5 sub on Virna on FanDuel. It's that wasn't that good. I got to pull it back up, but to your point, I mean, how does this fight look late? It's funny because I feel like Lemos is going to probably win and land the most damage. The one thing with Virna and like especially the judging now, if this thing goes the distance, it's not like Virna does a lot of damage at all.
Yeah,
but
she does almost no damage. Yep. She has like good explosive double legs and stuff. She has like good explosive takedowns, better than Dern. Dern doesn't really go for like any double legs or any like explosive.
No, and she telegraphs. Dern telegraphs everything. I mean, it's like
so we agree on this one. We have the same place.
So the Virna 3-4-5 sub 700. It's better than I actually thought.
If it happens in round 5, I'm gonna be pissed. I hope it happens earlier, but yeah.
I know, but you gotta do. But all right, so we've covered the main event. We've covered the 3 fights. Guys, if you're watching, again, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please go like VB on Twitter. Guy's a crusher. His picks are cheap as shit. Like literally, you guys know, anybody that watches me knows I don't endorse products that I don't like. I don't endorse people I don't respect. I respect VB and his talent. Dude, when he hits, I said it on Monday. Don't let the kid get hot. You let him get hot, it's 30-unit weeks in not just UFC, all the regionals, everything. All I wish is he would listen to my soccer picks. That's all I want from him.
Thank you, man. Kind words. Thanks so much.
Like, crush the Euros. Oh, we're not done though. We got one piece of business, guys. It's my favorite piece of business. For the first time on the new channel, VB, it's time for the Yam Bag special. For you guys watching for the first time, we're betting on a point deduction. What fight is more likely to have a point deduction? These bets can be found on DraftKings, BetMGM, typically 20-1 odds on DraftKings. VB, do you know the last fight that was not 20-1 odds for a point deduction? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you 2 hints. It was at heavyweight, and the one guy in that fight is no longer in the UFC because he was a notorious cheater.
Oh, my God. No longer in the UFC in the heavyweight?
A cheater for using an inhaler.
Oh, Gerd Hardy. All right.
Hardy to Burrow is like plus 1,600. I'd like to think that I moved the line, but I think they just said it there. They're like, this guy. And unfortunately, Tybura ran through him, and he was not afforded time to cheat. But, VB, what do you got? Let's see if we have the same one, because I never want to know what my guest has. What's your pick for the point deduction, the Yam Bag special?
Before we get there, the second pick for main event was doesn't go in the main event. It's not the best line, you know what I mean? But I played it. You probably like realized I like Lemos knockout and Rena stop, so it's not the worst look. Doesn't start round 5 is like minus 130 on FanDuel, so that's not bad either. As far as
No,
the
it's a
unbuck
reasonable
goes,
price to get these numbers, dude. I mean,
yeah,
it's weird that they set it at 2.5 on most books, and then fight doesn't go is as reasonable as it is.
I like doesn't go. I'm probably gonna play it. Yambak, I hope we're not the same one, but we already talked about this fight today. Is it the same? Maybe
Well,
not.
no, mine. We haven't talked about mine.
All right, so it's Loic and Agden, two
Okay.
guys who are gonna kick like inside leg kicks. Like Agden throws million leg kicks in a fight. You're telling me he's not gonna land some? I can almost guarantee he's gonna land one of them on Loic's. Yeah. So like, I think he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna get point deducted, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna land some of those kicks down. How many times was like I mean, Loic is gonna grab a cage or something. He grabs a cage a lot in his fights, and he when he gets hot and when he has somebody hurt, he sometimes throws those illegal knees too. You know what I mean? So that's another side they can cash. So I like that fight a lot. Actually, may actually sprinkle $20. Why not? So yeah, that's the one. I mean, mainly because of Ogden's kicking, game. I'm playing this, but if Lloyd grabs a cage or knees this guy on the head when he's hurt, like I'm not surprised at all.
I mean, $20 is nothing to me, dude. I make that in a week. It's nothing to me in life. So my pick checks all the boxes, VB. It's a rare. It checks all the boxes. It's sloppy heavyweight. It's Southpaw versus Orthodox, and it's slated to go the distance. Let's just start the night off with it, man. Peterson Usman is my yam bag special. What does this fight look like? I mean, look, Peterson's not good. I mean, I'm trying to be pleasant. And Usman, I think, is a finished product at this point. I don't know what kind of success Peterson has with his takedowns, but it doesn't mean even when he's tired in the second and third, he's not going to keep attempting them. I mean, this is cage grabs. This is eye pokes written all over it for me. It's sloppy heavyweights. It's hilarious. And I should mention that the last time that I took an opener to be the yam bag special was right when I started doing this. And that was the greatest fight of all time, VB. You know what that is. It was Dean Barry and Mike Jackson. The GOAT fight. The greatest fight that's ever happened in a UFC cage. And I mean, I should have gotten paid triple for that bet. I should have gotten paid. They should have been like, you know what, dude, we're going to pay you triple your bet because you nailed this so much. You hit this bet so hard. It doesn't happen in openers very often, but this is just two crappy guys, man. I like your logic. I don't know if Ogden's a cheater. I think Radzhabov, I absolutely agree with everything you said. But give me like the two low turd, no volume, like this nothing fight. And more importantly, now I have a bet on that fight because I don't, if you put your money on a side confidently there, I mean, more power to you. I'm not saying this insulting to anybody watching. I mean, I can't confidently like a side, but I can confidently bet a small amount of money on just absolute nonsense. And that's how I like to bet these things.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the under in that fight. Maybe it's not as easy as like bookies are saying. Maybe it doesn't go to decision. Peterson usually gets a finish. Peterson doesn't have a decision win. So if Peterson
Do you think
wins,
Usman has finishing equity?
No, I don't actually. But Peterson, I think if Peterson wins, probably he gets a finish. So I hope it doesn't end early for you. But if it goes over, I mean, we are almost guaranteed to have a death class fighters. So somebody's gonna happen.
I mean, to Glenn, you've seen my content. If you're gonna bet a ball shot, got to bet the draw. You got to bet drawbacks here, man. Have to. All right, VB, we made it. We made it through 2 shows this week. We gave the people all the money. That's what we did. We gave people all the money this week.
Yep.
Tell the people where they can find you, what you're doing, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. You know, you can just type video and pics. I'm probably gonna pop up, and YouTube same. And yeah, I mean, we all did a show on my YouTube. We broke down 3 fights with Lou, so check that out. And subscribe to this sharp guy. He's funny too. So it's like good good stuff, good entertainment. Not
I don't know
just
how sharp I
breaking fights
really am,
down.
but I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, you're funny, bro.
And I'm just gonna spoil it. So I have a prop show next week, but like I'm just spoiling this right now for UVB. Like, there's no way that Patty versus King Green isn't the Yam Bag special next week. Like, I don't know how it's not. I don't need tape. And it's not called the Yam Bag special next week because we're in England. It's the proper Rogering. Next week's the proper Rogering instead of the Yam. I'm going to be culturally appropriate. I don't know how it's not Patty against King Green. Sorry. That's like that whole fight's got to end in a DQ, right? Like, it has to.
I don't know. You know this better than me, my friend. This young buck.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to spoil like breakdowns for next week, but like, I mean, DQ in that fight's got to be, it's got to be at worst 10%. It's got to be 10% at least for some shenanigans and tomfoolery in that fight. It's Bobby Green and Patty Pimblett. There has to be some weird thing that happens.
All right. Yeah.
All right, guys, subscribe to VB, like and subscribe, all that. We will see you next week when my guest is John Stargarian for UFC 304. That's going to be a hilarious, weird hoot show as well. Take care, guys. Protect your bags. See you next week.